the town hall. It's good to see. The numbers keep popping up. Numbers are growing exponentially.
What makes North Carolina A&T different? It's not just one thing. For example,
at A&T, your professors will challenge you to excel because they want you to succeed. In fact,
more Black students have graduated from A&T since 2019 in engineering, journalism, agriculture, and liberal arts than any other campus in America.
Those graduates go on to earn the second highest starting salaries of any university in the UNC system.
That's why 98% of Aggies rate their decision to attend A&T great.
More than that, it's the vibe. There's nothing like the Aggie experience.
You'll always know A&T got you. The Aggie pride is real.
Become one of them. You'll learn quickly why at North Carolina A&T we are
always doing,
but never done.
Good evening, Aggies, and welcome to another North Carolina A&T State University Alumni Town Hall. That commercial always fires me up. I hope it does you too. Can I get an Aggie pride?
Aggie pride.
Doesn't quite sound the same on Zoom, does it? Well, I'm glad you tried anyway, for those of you playing along at home. It's my pleasure to host tonight's event. I'm Todd Simmons from University Relations. I have the pleasure of promoting this university every day of the year. Let's get started right away here by introducing our Associate Vice Chancellor for Alumni Relations, Crystal Boyce. Crystal?
Thank you so much, Todd. Greetings and happy Tuesday, Aggies. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight for the Spring 2025 Virtual Alumni Town Hall. I have the honor and privilege of serving the greatest alumni on earth every day. The Office of Alumni Relations is committed to working together on connecting with fellow alumni to collaborate on initiatives that support our alma mater, but while staying committed to the work of A&T's global footprint. Tonight, we bring you a special opportunity to hear from Chancellor James R. Martin II and other university administrators. Tonight, you will hear about key accomplishments, exciting future plans, and how we strategically align our efforts to advance academic excellence, foster student success, and drive global impact, all in support of the university's mission and long-term goals. We thank each of you who submitted questions and comments in advance during registration. They have been shared with Chancellor Martin and university administrators, and some will be covered tonight in presentations, and some of you will have an opportunity to ask questions live later on tonight. Of course, the Office of Alumni Relations has been really, really busy. If you could advance to the next slide, that would be appreciated. This month is Aggie Pride Month of Service. This was started by the former National Alumni Association and was carried on by the Washington, D.C. Alumni Chapter and expanded to all alumni chapters a few years ago. Now we are expanding this service engagement opportunity to all Aggies across the world. That's right, Aggies, it's a call to action. We know you love to serve and give back, and you have 15 more days to do so. So find an existing service project or create one in your local area. We want Aggies across the world putting on their Aggie paraphernalia and serving, because that's what Aggies do. You have received an email with a link to sign up, and we will share it again after the town hall. Next slide. In May, we are proud to celebrate the Golden Class of 1975 and Silver Class of 2000 with a record number of over 400 registrants. We look to celebrating all of them in May, and we are proud that each of the classes have started endowments so that their imprint will last forever at A&T. A link will be placed in the chat if you want to donate tonight or in the near future to support the Class of 1975 and 2000 endowments. There are many ways to support A&T this spring. Next week, you can support the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences with their third Town and Gown event featuring Deborah Cox. There are 2 events you can participate in. One is on Thursday, which is an evening with Deborah Cox. And on Friday, you can have dinner and see our amazing students in the Wiz. That's right, our students are performing the Wiz Thursday and throughout the weekend. Tickets are still available at the A&T ticket office. Next up, you can support the second Aggies in the Vineyard, a fundraising initiative to support the College of Education on May 17th. Tickets can be purchased from the QR code, and a link will be sent out post the town hall via email. Next up, save the date. The fall will be here before you know it, and we get to celebrate the installation of our 13th Chancellor on September 12th. That's right, Aggies. Save the date. September 12th is the installation of Chancellor Martin. Next slide, please. Also, classes ending in 0s and 5s, get ready to celebrate your reunion at homecoming. Save the date for the 99th edition of the greatest homecoming on earth, October 5th through the 12th. We are finalizing our 2025 hotel partners and will release information soon. We want all Aggies to remain engaged. Aggie family, thank you for all that you have done and will do in the future for our illustrious institution. I want you to always remember that you are a part of an Aggie Pride legacy that achieves great goals in everything and produces renowned individuals dedicated to excellence. Again, welcome to our Spring 2025 Alumni Town Hall. Next up, please give a hearty Aggie welcome to a loyal and devoted Aggie, Kim Gatlin, class of 1996, who proudly serves as chair of our Board of Trustees and Advisory Council on Alumni Relations.
Good evening, Aggies. On behalf of the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University Board of Trustees and Advisory Council for Alumni Relations, I would like to thank you for joining this evening's Alumni Town Hall. We know that these alumni town halls are critically important to alumni engagement and support. It's important that you are able to hear about the great updates at our university and that you understand our challenges so that you can lend your support and advocacy. This is additionally an important time for the university to hear from you. And we are so happy to make this platform available for you to address your questions and for us to hear your recommendations as well. I am very much looking forward to the engaging presentations and discussion that will ensue this evening, and I hope that you are too. And having said that, it is my honor to introduce to you all the 13th Chancellor of our illustrious university, Dr. James R. Martin II. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Chair Gatlin. So good to be able to connect with our Aggie Nation. Wish we could be in person, but certainly we want to create the possibility of connecting the best we can. So let me just say from the top, although you'll hear a lot of updates, I want to echo what Chair Gatling said about connecting. This is about connecting. It's about engaging. It's about aligning. It's not just about updating. So this is not just to put a lot of information out there. It's about for us to have communication. We're going to tell you about some of the things that we're up to, some of the challenges that we see, but we also want to get some input from you at the end. This is about what we do. It's a family affair. It's about what we do together. Let me just say, it's certainly a dynamic time for higher education. It's a dynamic time in this country, a dynamic time in our state. North Carolina A&T is positioned to do great things. And I can say right at the onset, our opportunities are far greater than any challenges we face. And so we need to lean into what we do. It's never been a more critical time for us, never been a time where there's more opportunity to really differentiate ourselves. And the way we do that, how fast we get there, and how impactful that is a direct function of how aligned we are. So this is one of those conversations for us to achieve greater sense of a shared vision and alignment. So I appreciate being able to take a few minutes to start that process. Let's get into our first slide. For our strategy, because we live in a time where things are changing very quickly and changing dynamically very quickly, we have developed a new framework for our strategic plan, and it's now, next, and beyond. We need a framework that allows us to be more agile, to match the possibilities of changes in our world. We have lots of possibilities, and we have to actually change very quickly to leverage those possibilities. And so now, next, and beyond is a modular framework where now means what we're focused on typically this semester. Next refers to the next year to 18 months. Beyond is typically 3 years and beyond. And so by having this modular framework, we're able to take advantage of changes that are occurring in the landscape and account for the fact that we're smarter as we go further. 7 months ago, as we began this journey, we're a lot smarter now. We know a lot more about what's happening around us. We know a lot more about how we work together. We know more about how the system responds to different inputs. So this allows us to continuously adjust. As a great example, if, for instance, a major employer locates in our region tomorrow, well, what used to be our next and beyond, that focus with that entity, that organization, if that's something we need to critically align with, then that would become our now. And then developing partnerships would become our next. And then developing tangible outcomes from those partnerships would be on our beyond. So that's a specific example of why we use this concept and how we might use it. You've heard us talk about A&T as an exponential university, and that's what we're building. A simpler way to say that is we're expanding and diversifying at speed and scale. What I'm referring to as diversifying here, it means that we're diversifying our revenue streams, we're diversifying our activities, we're diversifying our partners, our skills at which we are changing, where we operate. We want to have a global platform starting here in East Greensboro and certainly creating lots of impact across our state. But we also are looking at adopting frameworks that allow us to have a global footprint and global presence and global impact. Next slide. So what does that mean practically? I want to start talking about from an academic standpoint. From an academic standpoint, it means we really need to do better in terms of growing our online and hybrid offerings. So about 5 years ago, our university was positioned with about 11% of the total course offerings were available online. Just in the last year or two, that has increased to over 20%, actually 21.4% of our courses are available online. It doesn't mean that we're developing just more courses that are being shifted to online. It means in addition to the regular didactic in-person courses, we're developing additional courses that are available online to capture a new market that was not available. We certainly are going to do a much better job of embracing technology. There's so much we can do with virtual reality, augmented reality, gamification, lots of technology that we can use in the learning process. Learning is what we do all the time, not just in the classroom. So we want to engage learners everywhere, and that involves new technology. It certainly involves more market-driven courses where we're focused on what the industry around us needs. Things like artificial intelligence, as that continues to mature, information technology. We will be much more dynamic in our curriculum to make sure what we're offering is something that is in growing demand. The next bullet is really important. Many of you have heard me talk about learning, learning is a lifetime endeavor. And right now, the model that we use for higher education, especially at the undergraduate level, is still focused on what happens to 18 to 22-year-olds, very traditional college-age student. The biggest untapped market in this country is all those learners that are outside of that age range, especially older than 24 years old. So we're going to be focused on engaging people not just when they're 18 to 22 and not just, say, in graduate school, but throughout their entire lifetime. We want to be a platform for lifelong learning. And so this is a really important platform for us to build because, for instance, there are at least 4 million people in the United States with about 70 credit hours of college credit with no degree. We have Aggies at the goal line. There are a significant number of would-be graduates from North Carolina A&T with a significant amount of college credits without a degree. This right here not only engages all of those learners, but it also allows people to develop a complete career. If you want to go back and get training in a different area, you want to get an online degree, you want to get a certificate, you want to get a second degree in something, you want to learn how to start a business. All of those things will be a part of it. So if you're 70 years old, you want to start a business, you'll reach out to A&T. Everyone in the household will have some opportunity to learn something. We're really excited about it. Others are not talking about that. We'll certainly have more interdisciplinary learning also across the university. So let's talk about research as the second part. Many of you know that we've heard about the R1 classification, and I'd be remiss if I didn't just take a second to say something about the R1 classification. About 40 years ago, more than 40 years ago, there was a study done, sponsored by the Carnegie Foundation, to develop information on all the colleges and universities across the country. And there are about 4,500 colleges and universities across this country. And so there was a compilation of data. Now, 45 years ago, we didn't have the internet. We didn't know what was happening in each state, but it was a comprehensive national effort to develop a database, a clearinghouse of universities and colleges all across the country. And that was the Carnegie Institute, that the Carnegie Endowment, sponsored by the Carnegie Foundation, I should say, that actually sponsored that study. From that, there was a categorization developed to classify different universities based on their operating parameters. And one way to separate them was how much research they're doing versus how much traditional education, how much state support they get, how many endowments they have. All of those types of classifications were used simply to classify schools. They were not used to rank or judge quality. They were simply used to categorize and classify. Part of that effort found that about 2.5% of the universities in this country are separated from the others because of their really high research activity. Those were called category R1. They're research universities, and they do a lot of it. It was just where those universities separated themselves from the others in the data. Nothing magic about what the numbers were. It was simply about where there were separation points, natural separation points in the data. So that's where we had R1, R2, R3, R4. It was not intended to be something used for ranking, classification, or quality measurements. However, today it has become that, but that was not the idea. It was simply an attempt to categorize universities. At the time, the Department of Education was being formed in 1980. Having said that, now it is an important indicator of reputation, because the universities, it's certainly true, the universities in that category, R1, are big drivers of economic development in their area. They do have lots of influence. Typically, those universities have been universities with large med schools in metropolitan areas, and the ones that have work associated, say, with the Department of Defense, that's typically what most of those large universities have been. But these days, it is important to achieve as an indicator that you are at the table with the big players. And we're very, very, very close. The last assessment, we were 2 PhD students short, graduates short, of meeting that criteria. The criteria is 70 PhD students graduated in a year. We had 68 in the last assessment year. So about 2.5% of the universities are R1 universities. What happens when you're an R1 university? How do you get there? Well, beyond the criteria for the amount of funding, and the criteria for funding is about $50 million in external grants per year and 70 PhD students. Well, for comparison purposes, this year we will exceed $82 million in terms of expenditures, and we certainly should exceed more than 70 PhD students. So if we were doing the assessment this year, and it's done every 3 years or so, we would be classified as an R1 university right now. They did the assessment last year and used the numbers from the year before that, and so we weren't quite at the number of PhD students. One of the things that does happen here, though, is R1 universities are universities where opportunities are starting to flow toward the university. That is, if you start to really do a great job in research, opportunities start to flow through you. It means that, first of all, your business practices are very evolved, and you have reduced much of the friction required to operate, to generate proposals, to manage the budgets, to actually go out and create frameworks, opportunities, centers. That's usually what it means, is that you have really well-evolved business practices, and you understand you have people posted at the key funding agencies to understand what's happening, so you're not reacting to opportunities. So opportunities start to be driven to you. You know what's going to happen, what the next big proposal ideas are before those things are announced. And you also have major corporations and others coming to you because of your research cachet. And so there is something special. You start to drive opportunities to you the closer you get, and then start to exceed R1. R1 is not a designation, it is a milestone. We're going to blow those criteria away. We're going to be so far past R1 in terms of the criteria for that. The one thing that I'll say, and then I wanted to make sure we discuss this a lot because I've heard a lot of questions about it. One of the questions that I hear oftentimes is, what does it mean for our teaching? Well, it enhances teaching. Research is just simply creation of new knowledge. We're understanding how to create knowledge and then inspire learning. Teaching is inspiring learning. Research is creating new knowledge. They go together. The best researchers are the best teachers. We also do more interdisciplinary work when we're doing research because we have to work across boundaries. And what you'll find from the data is the more research you do, the better your teaching, and that's reflected in your retention rates and your graduation rates. So as you do more in the research domain, graduation rates increase for one reason, because we're doing more interdisciplinary work. And that's really important to understand. The last thing I'll say, and then get off this topic, is it is harder to achieve R1 than it is to stay at R1 because we have to build and lead. So right now we're building the systems that we haven't fully built out yet. So to be able to build those systems, to be able to build the business practices, to be able to build the networks and build the know-how, it takes a little bit longer than getting those systems built and then staying there. So we're building and leading. We have to work about 30% harder right now to get there than the effort required to stay there. So 3 key points. as to how we'll get there. The 3 key points are people, partnerships, and translation. Those are the 3 keys. First of all, people, as I've always said, as a leader, leaders don't build great organizations. Leaders build great teams and great systems that build great organizations and let those and have those organizations do great things. And so it's important for us to really spend a lot of time focusing on the quality of our leaders. I'm happy to announce 3 additional leaders that we've announced recently. The Vice Chancellor there at the top is Chris Catching, the new Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, followed by Monique Dozier, the new Vice Chancellor for University Advancement. And almost 24 hours, there's Monique, and almost 24 hours, a little more than 24 hours of having been officially installed. There she is, Virginia Tichet, who is our new CFO and Vice Chancellor for Business and Finance. So we welcome her. Her first day was yesterday. The key thing about people is this is about, as I've said before, it's about low ego, high purpose. That's what the Aggie Nation is. Low ego, high purpose. Our leadership team that we're building is that. It represents a microcosm of what we need across the larger community. And it's important also many times for us to think about strategic hiring, because many of the capabilities we want to build, such as work with key partners, such as Department of Defense, Department of Energy, those require relationship-driven work, research, conversation, networks that take years to build. And so oftentimes, if we want to make much progress with, say, a Department of Defense, the strategy there is to bring people here that have pre-existing relationships with those key partners to allow us to accelerate our progress faster. So that is what we're focused on as well. Partnerships. It's really key for us. If we're going to grow at speed and scale, we need partnerships of all types. We're talking about academic partnerships as well as corporate partnerships. From an alignment in our region, for instance, that means really aligning with the regional players, the main players in the Carolina core. If we look at the economic development of the ROI and economic development from some of these partnerships, the minimum is a factor of 3 to 5. But in key areas where research universities are really working and are really well aligned, typically the research engine from that university is producing an ROI that can easily exceed a factor of 10. Okay, so that's where we're looking at is strong alignment in the core. And so we've got a number of examples of partnerships that has already started, and a number of partners that will be announced soon. We do have opportunities. I've mentioned Department of Defense, Department of Energy, corporate, academic, and certainly partnerships related to artificial intelligence and high performance computing, those high technology growth areas for us. I want to share this slide with you because as I talk about partnerships, the word partnership is sometimes overused. Partnerships are not created, all partnerships are not created equal. This is a slide that shows on the y-axis, it's showing the level of impact and output, that is the ROI from a particular partnership. On the x-axis, it shows the type of partnership, basically. And it goes from the lower left, transactional partnerships, to the upper right, where you see collaborative research and grand challenge and joint ventures. What this plot is basically saying is transactional partnerships are good to have. They don't produce as much ROI as really close collaborative partnerships and joint ventures. We have a lot of transactional partnerships, which are really important. They're essential, but not sufficient for where we want to go. A transactional partnership means that we might share space. We might have a corporation or an entity hiring our students. We might send lots of interns out. They might sponsor some of our events, right? That's a transactional partnership, really important. Where we need to get is the truly collaborative joint venture grand challenge type partnerships where we are providing the types of intellectual inputs and the types of workforce and the types of technologies that are absolutely indispensable to that corporation or government entity and vice versa, so that we are deeply aligned. It takes a little bit longer to do that, to create those kinds of partnerships. But in terms of the economic development that it creates, and in terms of the overall impact it creates, it really is exponential. And that's what we're actually building. So I want you to think in terms of a spectrum of partnerships, and we need to go up that curve to the collaborative and the joint venture type partnerships. Okay, get ready for the last slide. So translation, what I really mean by translation is, in essence, an inversion of the university. It means getting more of what's inside the university out, impacting the community. And we've got lots of examples of that. What we do, the products that we generate, everything from workforce to what we do in agriculture with extension, all the work that we're doing in engineering and nursing, lots of examples of what we do. You read about this every day if you look at our website, and every day if you read the papers, and every day if you look at YouTube and some of the other media about how we are impacting the community and how the results of our work and our people are impacting society. What we have to do more of is get the other side going, more of what's out there in the community, in the region, in the state, in the nation, into North Carolina A&T. For instance, if we are looking at senior engineers and technicians that are working with some of the major corporate entities around us, we need to have more of those executives on leave. We need to have more of those engineers from out there in the corporations actually sitting on our campus in real time, where we are informing everyone, our curriculum, our students, our workforce, where we are creating all of this new knowledge together as it is developed, not waiting to be passive downstream. So it means that we're always relevant in terms of our curriculum. We know right now what the challenges are because we have people inside the academy that are also focused on what's happening with some of those corporations and some of those key priorities. And so having that, more of that, is a part of what we mean by translation. So we got to marry ourselves together in a deeper way with our community and our state. Okay, that was the highlight of what I wanted to talk about. This year, people partnerships, translations, now next and beyond is reflected in our legislative priorities. So the main operating budget request for this year is our ag research and extension. So most of you know, agriculture, they say, very significant part of North Carolina A&T. Our whole research mission, our fundamental raison d'etre for being here is based on agriculture. There are only two land-grant universities in our state. It's us and North Carolina State. Agriculture is $111 billion industry in North Carolina. And so we are certainly increasing our investment, and the state is increasing its investment in North Carolina A&T so that we can have a bigger impact. We're in over 50 counties in the state, and we serve about 10% of the farms in the state, about 4,500 out of 45,000. We're going to be increasing from that. So there's significant requests to allow us to continue to expand multiple fold our ag operations, our faculty, our staff, our school, our research platform, our extension network. The Cheatham White Scholarship is a scholarship that really supports some of the best and brightest students in this entire country. And so to continue to increase the number of students in our scholarship is really important. Degree completion assistant is another one. what we have found, especially for summer school support over the last couple of years, if we are able to have additional funding, especially for North Carolina A&T, this is something specific to North Carolina A&T. Many of our students work. A significant number of our students, the majority of our students work and go to school. The summer term is really important for those students to complete their degree. So having, first of all, more options available in the summer that will allow them to finish their course curriculum and graduate, and to be able to take courses, many of which are online, or would allow them to take courses while they work or intern, is really important. We have seen that really significantly increase our graduation rate over the last 2 or 3 years. And so being able to have more degree completion assistant focus on summer period is a big deal for North Carolina A&T. It's one of the things that makes the most difference in terms of our students graduating and completing their degrees. Campus security, super important. The Aggie Academy, it's amazing what's happening with 3 to 5th graders in the Aggie Academy off of Cone Boulevard. We want to continue that operation. Capital improvement investments. We're looking at a health and human sciences building for $125 million. That is part of our request. Carver Hall is also really important. Agriculture research and classroom building. Carver Hall has been there a long time. I just said we've got to continue to expand what we're doing in the agriculture area. We've got to have new facilities. We've got to have much new technology, and it starts with investment right here. So that's one of our requests. And the last one is an education, recreation, and wellness complex to enhance the student experience. And that's what it's about. It's about having the best possible experience for all of our students, which are amazing.
Thank you, Chancellor. Thank you so much. The Now, Next, and Beyond framework, I'd like for everyone to make sure that you're keeping that in your heads. It's the organizing framework that the Chancellor has provided. It's organizational, but it's also inspiring. So I'm pleased to join you tonight, Tanya Smith-Jackson as Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, and the rest of my team here, Drs. Yin, Davis, and Martin. I wanted to open a bit before we provide certain information that will help to enhance our partnership with alumni. First, thank you all for joining. So many of you have joined tonight. It really does speak to your commitment to this great university. And we very much appreciate the commitment, the time and talent and treasure that you are investing in North Carolina A&T. First, as the Chancellor was talking about aspects of the partnership, I want to remind everyone that we are an anchor institution. We were the first HBCU to ever be elected by the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities as an innovation and economic prosperity institution. We are also designated by the Carnegie Foundation as a community engaged institution. I'm bringing this up in our conversation because really our status as an institution that has demonstrated its impact on its surrounding community and the state and the nation really is something that should be driving our partnership with you and as alumni. Being an anchor institution means that A&T is not an ivory tower. We're not sitting in the middle of the state in the Great Gate City and simply amassing wealth. And that is happening at some institutions. We have commitments to those around us. We do the work out in the communities, out at an extension, as the Chancellor mentioned. We do work that benefits people, and it being true to our mission, we are advancing the human condition and facilitating economic growth. So I just want to remind all of you as we think about partnerships and discuss our partnerships with you tonight and other opportunities. And as you think about the questions and comments that you want to enter, remember that we are absolutely dedicated since 1891 to making a real difference for the people around us, making a real difference. So that's the anchor institution. I wanted to mention also that we are looking forward to further conversations to refine the intellectual and social architecture of North Carolina A&T. In academic affairs as a division, we're focusing on our learners and finding ways to make sure they have the best intellectual and academic experience, but also the best experience overall, social, mental and well-being, etc., every single aspect of their lives. So I definitely want to thank those of you who had significant partnerships with academic affairs over the years. Many of you are alumni chapters who have helped us to raise funds for scholarships. As you know, the Chancellor talked about the significant number of our students who have to work, many of them working full-time and carrying full-time academic loads, and they are managing to make it. That is a lot of work, but things would certainly be even better for them if they had more scholarship support. So for the chapters out there, and I don't want to make anybody angry, but it's just these are at the top of my head right now. Queen City Alumni, thank you for Aggie Rides and the fundraising that you're doing. Gate City Alumni for the endowed scholarships that you have committed to for fundraising. The Halifax Northampton, which is my home alumni chapter, thank you so much for the great send-offs you provide to students and providing them with extra resources so they can be successful academically. So I just want to thank all of you, and I look forward to further conversations related to how we can engage even more impactfully and support each other. But I need to take a moment and give my team an opportunity to talk to you. We have an excellent team in the Division of Academic Affairs. We have put the dream team together. And this dream team, I tell you, particularly for the last 3 years or so, has been really focused and intentional on making sure we build that intellectual and social architecture that's going to be transformative for our students. So I'm going to turn this over then to Dr. Yin, Dr. Davis, and Dr. Martin. They're going to give you updates about lifelong learners, the progress that we've made, their careers, and also some of the aspects of the business infrastructure that we're trying to build, as the Chancellor mentioned, the business infrastructure that we're trying to improve to make things easier really for everyone to bring their very best to North Carolina A&T. So Dr. Yin.
Thank you, Provost Smith-Jackson. You've really set the bar high for me on this thing, but really what we're also hoping is that we have built the dream team, but also continued your trust and faith in our leadership and how we support our students. And I know I got the fun part about like kind of doing it by numbers, but I wanted to show you all that how we're using an asset-based approach to data analysis that drives continued progress in student success. And I want to emphasize that we don't just do data analysis. We're doing it from an asset-based approach on building upon the strengths of our students. Slide, please. And what I mean by that is that we look at things like course pass rate instead of looking at DFWs, because we look at the data and you go, oh, wait, we are slowly continue like the pass rate of all of our students. That's the positive. So what are the other things and barriers that we can look at on our students? We also look at our average credits hours earned, because that leads to higher four-year graduations. And it's also an asset-based approach in that sense that like we can look at our students and say, hey, you've done 27.1 credit hours. What are the things that we can do to get you to 30 credit hours? Because we know those are the metrics that are important to help improve four-year graduation rates. And when you look at the retention rates and the four-year graduation rates and the five-year graduations, you can see that there is a trend of upward mobility on that. But we also know that it isn't just on the student. We have to look at the barriers. That's why I'm so excited when we're hearing about things like the Chancellor working hard on making sure that we get that summer grant money over the summer, so that's another way to increase the third, because we understand our students. And I want to make sure that we understand this, and this is the building of the trust, is that at A&T, we're not only looking at student success from retention and graduations, but we look at them in developing in a holistic perspectives. Students are not numbers to us. We don't want graduates to just leave here with a degree and memories, but the tools that make the next day the best day of their lives. And this is why it includes developing their curiosity, the openness to experience, creativity, and resilience. And these are all items that we start from the day that they get into the admissions doors, to our first year seminar, to our general education, to our student affairs, to our career services. And I promise you that we have data on all these experiences, but I will not go through all that data today. But there's a set of data that I would like you to look at. And that data is, next slide, please, is really looking at how we're also setting up our students to succeed financially after they graduate. And all that work that we have been doing is, when you look at these numbers, the numbers that are important are we're graduating more students. But more importantly, we are having fewer students leaving with, more students leaving without debt. And even those who leave with debt, they are having smaller amounts. And what that tells you is that, like, yes, I think we're always trying to get more money from the state, but that continuous giving that you give is giving that student a chance to leave, giving us a chance to have more students leave with an NCAA A&T degree. And truthfully, if you ask, this is what Aggie pride means to me, because it continues those stories that I love hearing about, how a past alum from their community got money from a teacher or something to come to A&T because it was that hope, because we all knew how important that NCAA degree is. And so I'm hoping that numbers kind of also give you a little bit of hardcore evidence that this is the things that we're doing with your trust and your faith in us in our leadership. And I'm now going to go hand this off to Dr. Nita Davis, who can talk more about how companies recruit our Aggies to do great things in North Carolina, in the United States, and worldwide. Dr. Davis?
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Yin, and thank you all for allowing me to present on some of the exciting things that we are doing in the Office of Career Services. Next slide, please. So I'm happy to share some great information with you all in terms of our student engagement rates when it comes to our career fairs. As you have probably heard, we have the greatest career fairs ever. And that's thanks to your support as well, and for your companies allowing our alumni to come and recruit our Aggies. So thank you so very much. The top of the screen will show you fall 24, and the bottom you will see spring 25. You can see that, again, we are trending very nicely where we would like to be in terms of the number of students that are engaging with the Office of Career Services and coming to our events. Our largest fair to date was the Fall 2024 Career Fair, where we had over 5,000 students in attendance and 407 companies or employers. And then with our Spring Career Fair, we had a little under 2,000 students present, and we had over 200 employers. And also on the screen, you will see what this number looks like in terms of our undergraduate students, 36% of them attending the Fall Career Fair, and 14% of our student body of population attending the Spring Career Fair. With our graduate students, 23% attending the Fall 24 Career Fair, and 15% of our graduate students attending the Spring Career Fair. So we're moving on towards bigger and better. Guess what? Next slide, please. We are taking the career fair to the Coliseum. Our Aggies are truly in demand. We are preparing them to be career ready, and we need a little bit more room. So North Carolina A&T Fall Career Fair is one of the largest in the UNC school system and in the university's history. We have 8 of the top 10 Fortune 500 companies recruiting on our campus, and we continue to see the steady growth in attendance. But guess what? You're also invited to our Fall Career Fair. The date is September 10th, so we hope to see you or your company representatives, your talent acquisition and recruiting teams there, and we're also looking for volunteers. This off-campus venue, we're having it at the Coliseum, now known as the First Horizon Coliseum, will provide availability for 600 plus companies. We will provide shuttle services for students as well as employers that are staying at the host hotel. We do not want to have any barriers for students not to come to the career fair. So we are providing shuttle services, and we are extending our career fair hours. We will host many career readiness workshops and breakout sessions during the fair, and we are enhancing the registration process. Next slide, please. I also wanted to share our first destination outcomes with you, as well as our stepping blocks data. In terms of first destination, we are also trending very nicely. For our undergraduate students for the academic year 23-24, we had 89% of the students that were graduating, the undergrads, to respond to our survey. And this resulted in 85% of them indicated what we call positive outcomes. They are working, they are continuing their education, military, or completing a volunteer service such as AmeriCorps or Peace Corps. On the screen, you will also see the median salary for both groups. Our graduate outcomes, that response rate or knowledge rate was 80%, and overall outcome, again, positive, successful outcomes, 86%. And we are still collecting data. You will also see the top 10 employers for the 23-24 year. I hope one of your employers is listed. If not, we want to see them on the list soon. And then in terms of our North Carolina ROI, these are the top employers as well. And we see that number usually range between 52 to 60% of our students staying in North Carolina to work. So live, work, and play in North Carolina or other locations as well. Stepping blocks is where we get our longitudinal data. And this is where we're looking at alumni graduates from 1952 to 2024. Over 56,000 alumni information is available on this platform. 56% of them live and work in North Carolina, and the average salary is $78,000. You probably think that may be a little low, but we understand there are some individuals that do not want to display their salary to us, but we do keep this information anonymous. So again, we are trending very nicely. We are doing some amazing things in career services and preparing our students to be career ready for the workforce. As we are reimagining career services, we are creating a career ecosystem where we are truly placing career services everywhere and as many places as we can on campus. Again, thank you for your continued support, and we hope to see you soon. Next, I will turn the presentation over to Dr. Jonathan Martin.
Thank you, Dr. Davis, and good evening, Aggies. It's certainly my pleasure to spend just a little bit of time with you tonight to talk about transformation, process improvement, and the Aggie experience. Next slide, please. So really, to set the foundation, you heard the Chancellor talk about really Aggie experience, Aggie exponential, and part of that Aggie exponential certainly includes transformation at the university and the component of operational efficiency. So as we set that foundation, it was really a natural fit for us to explore and move forward with setting up an office that focuses on process advancement and continuous excellence. This office really represents that continuous improvement and operational excellence across the university. Certainly, we focus on using specific methodology, reinforced by this data-driven approach. You heard Dr. Yin talk about the importance of data, and certainly the focus on the culture of quality enhancement. Next slide. So for us, that theoretical moves into understanding our commitment to action. Over the past 18 months, we've laid the foundation for process improvement, process advancement through robotic process automation. During that time, we actually developed and implemented approximately 10 automations across 5 departments on campus. We've saved over 7,000 work hours. We've reduced processing backlogs. We've increased grant funding opportunities. And now that we've laid that foundation, we envision moving process excellence to the next level. That certainly includes customer service initiatives. In the months to come, you'll hear more about what we're doing with customer service to improve not only the student, faculty, and staff experience, but our important stakeholders like alumni. And of course, the creation of this process advancement and continuous excellence office. So certainly, as we proceed forward, I look forward to speaking with all of you to hear your suggestions, your ideas about process improvement. We may not have that time tonight, but I'll certainly leave my email address in the chat so that you can reach out to me. Next slide, please. So as we think about process improvement, it certainly is a natural fit that we have integrated our work thus far with the Aggie experience. Next slide. Well, certainly many of you use that phrase Aggie experience, and you may have your own thoughts about what that means. That may mean different things to all of us. We specifically defined the Aggie experience a few years ago. I won't read the whole definition, but it really recognizes our commitment to creating that liberating experience for all of us that really shows our commitment to be the very best. It requires this application of our core values, which includes responsibility, integrity, inclusiveness, learning, and excellence. And it's really the interaction of our students, faculty, and staff leveraging those core values and focusing on those interactions with those core values. That's what we consider to be the Aggie experience. Next slide. Well, one of the things that we wanted to do, especially over the last year, is to further define the Aggie experience and understand the practical integration of the Aggie experience in everyday life. Of course, as I mentioned, the foundation is focused on those core values, but we defined 4 key focal areas of the Aggie experience that affect our everyday lives at the university. That certainly includes capacity building, training and development. I just mentioned customer service, which speaks to the accountability, and we just talked about business process reengineering or process improvement. As we continue to integrate the Aggie experience in our everyday lives, just like the Process Improvement Office, we certainly want to hear from all of you. Your collaboration with us, your input, your insight is critical for us continuing to define and shape the Aggie experience as we move forward together. Next slide, please. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Joe Montgomery.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. So I'd like to bring you updates on our enrollment at the university as we look to achieve our enrollment goals. Next slide. First of all, I'd like to thank you for connecting to your campus, putting in the time and effort to continue to share your thoughts, your experiences with prospective students. Last time we talked about this in the fall, our certified alumni recruiters was about 261. As you can see, we have 100 more of you have certified to participate in recruiting young folks to North Carolina A&T. The top states in which we see the highest number of certified alumni recruiters are listed there. We would like to continue to encourage others to get involved. You all save us a lot of time, a lot of effort by covering over 138 different events. And that was really kind of in the Maryland and North Carolina areas. We want to continue to recruit young folks to North Carolina A&T from around the nation so that we can continue what we've been doing for so many years now in terms of reaching our enrollment goals. Next slide. Your efforts in combination with the work that we're doing on campus, you can see here we grew the number of applications to over 44,000 applications just for undergraduate students, and that is about a 9% increase. The thing that's important here is that not only did we grow the number of applications, but we grew the number of applications from the state of North Carolina. We need all the assistance and all the help that we can to make certain that all qualified students in the state understand that A&T is a true option for them. So let's continue this by continuing to work together to ensure that we're speaking to all of the best and brightest students in our community. Next slide. Now, one of the things I wanted to address is all of the work that we put in to ensure that we're serving all of the students, our current students and prospective students. I want to highlight that we've made a tremendous amount of changes to our Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. We've hired and trained 11 call center staff members. I can tell you that over the last month, we've been averaging 95 to 99% of all calls that have been presented to the financial aid office. So the call center staff is working. We're answering calls. We're providing solutions to the types of questions that families may have. We've already released over 9,000 financial aid award letters to newly admitted students. Over 5,000 of our current students are ready and packaged for next academic cycle. We're also working really hard to ensure that all of our summer school registrants are ready to go when we get out of the spring term. So at this point, 60% of them are already packaged, ready to go. We've launched a new scholarship platform. This scholarship platform has allowed us to take all of our endowed scholarships, the endowed scholarships that you're working so hard to ensure that money is getting to the neediest students in our community. Over 244 of them are part of this new platform. We've had over 3,400 students submit applications for these scholarships. Outside scholarships are part of this new platform where we can track the kinds of scholarships that students are applying for. Over 2,900 applications to outside scholarships have been submitted by our students in this new platform. So what we see is there's a need for scholarships. We see our students have an appetite to apply for our scholarships, and we want to ensure that they get to these opportunities in a timely manner and making certain that we can award the scholarships in a timely manner. The Office of Orientation and New Student Programs, we've interviewed over 250 students and have selected 88 Aggie success leaders. They're ready to go for orientation. Our first orientation will be June 2nd and 3rd. 83% of the students who have deposited for the fall already registered for new student orientation. So that number has improved by 21% year over year. The onboard of new professional staff members, and we're currently searching for 2 additional staff members in that office. There's collaboration that's happening between all of the units. The Office of Undergraduate Admissions have hired more than 90% of their vacancies. We have introduced 3 new regional reps, 1 in Charlotte, 1 in Raleigh, and we have a dedicated regional person in the eastern part of North Carolina to ensure that we are recruiting throughout the state with intentionality and making certain that we are mining for those students who don't believe that they have an opportunity in college, that we are there to make certain that they hear and learn more about our university. We have streamlined the enrollment process by adding additional components to our CRM. So orientation is embedded within the same platform, so students don't have to learn about new platforms, but easy transitions from one portion of their application process to the next portion of their application process. And that is a joint venture between undergraduate admissions and the Office of Orientation and New Student Programs. We have continuous assessments that we will make along the way, and we will respond appropriately to ensure that we're continuing to serve the students that are interested in our great university. Next slide. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Gloucester.
Thank you. Next slide. I have the opportunity to share some of the outstanding things that are going on in our graduate college. Next slide, please. So our current graduate college now has 14 doctoral programs. You'll notice that we identify them as doctoral programs because now we have a new doctoral degree in nurse practice, right? Nursing practice. So that's a professional degree. So we have 13 PhD degree programs and 1 professional degree program. Hopefully in the future, we'll continue to expand our number of doctoral and professional degree programs. You can see the list of our PhD programs, Ag and Environmental Sciences, Applied Science and Technology is an umbrella PhD program for the College of Science and Technology. Many of our PhD programs are in engineering, computational data science and engineering, computer science, electrical engineering, industrial and systems engineering. Criminal justice is a new PhD program. Applied Science and Technology is an umbrella program for the College of Science and Technology, and it has more than 100 students enrolled. That's our largest PhD programs. We also have a joint PhD program in social work with UNC Greensboro. The students apply to the program. They're randomly assigned a home institution, and they take courses at both institutions, and they actually receive a degree from both institutions. We have 36 master's degrees. The MBA is the largest. It has over 150 students. Master of Arts in Teachings, typically second in terms of enrollment, and the Master of Science in Information Technology typically has over 100 students enrolled. We also have 46 graduate certificate programs, and we're proud to announce to our alumni that this year our fall enrollment of over 1,800 students was an institution record. Next slide. This is a fresh new article that was just put out this past week, where A&T shines in new U.S. News and World Report rankings. So I don't know if you knew this, but our MBA program is ranked number 77 in the country. And we're absolutely proud of not only our MBA program, but the other programs at North Carolina A&T that are nationally ranked. Our MS in Mental Health Counseling, top 50 program. A College of Engineering, now ranked number 149. Master of Science in IT, a top 10 online program. And A&T was recognized as one of the most innovative universities by U.S. News and World Report. Next slide. Additionally, we were recognized by Money Magazine in 2024 as the most affordable doctoral research university. So we're not only proud of our academic excellence, but our affordability, our low cost of tuition. Next slide. At A&T, we use graduate certificate programs as alternative pathways to graduate degrees for our students. This is something that we're becoming known for. For example, in our cybersecurity and data analytics certificate programs, students can enroll. They take 4 classes to receive a credential in cybersecurity or data analytics. Students can receive financial aid if they enrolled in these certificate programs, and these programs have a lower admission requirement than the master's degree program. But what's unique about our approach is these courses count towards the master's degree. Next slide. Hit next, please. So when we have a student advance who applies to a master's degree program, advance, please. Then our staff now is trained. So rather than send them a denial letter where they don't meet the requirements for a master's degree program, you can hit next a few times. That student is sent to a graduate certificate program, right? And now they can be admitted and enrolled at A&T, and these students count towards our enrollment goals. And then when they complete the graduate certificate program, you can advance. Now they have a GPA higher than 3.0, and they can meet the requirements for a master's degree program. And the certificate program stack directly in the master's degree program. So now the student only needs 6 courses instead of 10 to complete their master's degree. Next slide. You can see we've been working very hard over the past several years to start new graduate degree programs at North Carolina A&T. We're pleased to announce that this fall we'll be starting a MS in Physician Assistant Studies program. That's a Very competitive program, large number of applications, small number of students that actually are admitted into the program. Very competitive admission. And in the fall, we'll start our PhD in applied psychology. You can see that we started a PhD in criminal justice in the fall, along with our DNP program. That's the very first criminal justice PhD degree program in the state. And you can see the other programs that we started over the past few years. Next slide. We're extremely proud of our Chancellor's Fellows. A&T now is one of the top producers of African-American PhDs in the country. We're proud that we have passed Georgia Tech this past year in a number of African-American PhD students in engineering disciplines. But we're proud of our Chancellor's Fellows. We have 50, more than 50 typically each year of African-American students who are PhD students, and they're focused in STEM disciplines. These students receive an assistantship, tuition, fees, health insurance. They also receive funds to support their travel, where they can present their research at a conference throughout the country. They can receive support to secure a laptop or to secure additional equipment for their labs. So we're proud of our Chancellor's Fellows. Next slide. This year, we had our inaugural Hall of Fame for alums of graduate programs. We named Crystal Boyce and Dr. Shoban Day Grady our first two Hall of Fame recipients this year. We look forward to increased participation from our alums, so please look for our call for nominations. If you look at the Graduate College website, we have a Hall of Fame page where you can see the requirements and the timeline to apply for the Hall of Fame during the next cycle, but we look forward to many, many more years of celebrating the outstanding accomplishments of our alums, specifically of graduate programs, master's and PhD programs. Next slide. We also are proud of our A2I program. A2I is Accelerate to Industry. It is what we call career services for our grad students, right? NC State trademarked the program, and now we have many corporate sponsors. What we found is 60% of PhD students do not go to the academy. They go to where? Private industry. So A2I is a program that's set up for those students. And if you go to the next slide, you can see where our corporate sponsors, based on their level of sponsorship, they get one or more of the available modules, right? One is industry immersion, where we have 1 to 3 day event where our corporate sponsors engage with our students. We work with the sponsors, and they might have workshops specifically on specific aspects that they're of interest to them. For example, Amazon, one of our partners, there was a VP of Amazon who was an alum of A&T, and they talked to our grad students about how to go up the C-suite, right? How to advance through corporate America and get into a VP position. There are other modules that we have that are part of our A2I. So we hope that you and your companies would engage with the grad college and partner with us so that we can provide opportunities for our graduate students. Next slide. I'd like to turn it over now to Earl Hilton, the Director of Intercollegiate Athletics, and he'll give an update on athletics.
Thank you, Dr. Gloucester. Good evening, everyone. First of all, thanks so much for being with us this evening. I really appreciate your time and your investment, your engagement with A&T, the fact that you would spend a couple of hours with us virtually to talk about what's happening at A&T and where we have grown and where we're going. I look forward to spending a few minutes with you tonight talking about athletics. We're going to cover several topics in short order. First of all, we'll talk a little bit about capital projects. We'll also talk about the House settlement. That is the elephant in the room in athletics right now. And then we'll spend a few minutes talking a little bit about the funding for our teams and how our teams compare to their peers in the CAA. But before I get to that, in addition to the bowling championship and the women's basketball championship and the men's indoor track championship that our student athletes and coaches have won this year, I also want to make you aware that this weekend our cheerleading team won the national championship, the NCAA College National Championship, back-to-back champions, 2 years in a row, first HBCU to ever go back-to-back in this competition. And so we're very excited and very proud about these young people and their accomplishments in that championship over the weekend. As you recall from our conversation in November, we put a pause on major capital projects in athletics based on the results of the feasibility study that we conducted in the prior year. We are, and I can't use my cursor, I don't think you can see my cursor. We are certainly continuing with the racquetball court renovation. We're building the 2 new practice fields for our football team. The men's and women's basketball lounge is almost finished. It's just putting the finishing touches on the furniture. The Sports Performance Center has a designer, an architect hired for that. Track replacement is still moving forward apace. And in the Hall of Fame, we've also hired a designer, an architect for that project as well. We continue to move forward in those spaces, and as circumstances and opportunities permit, based on the institutional trajectory, we will continue to have conversations about major renovations, major capital project renovations in our athletics program as we move forward over the next several years. Next slide, please. All right. There has been conversations about how our athletics teams fit in the CAA from a funding perspective. Now, there's a ton going on in this slide, and I've got 3, I think, that look very similar to this. So let me see if I can explain them. If you look across the very top, you'll see increments of $50,000 or $100,000 moving from left to right. And then when you get all the way to the right, we jump by $500,000. For baseball, for instance, we have the range of coaching salaries for baseball programs in the CAA. The blue triangle in the middle of that line represents the CAA mean. This is the mean value for coaching salaries in baseball. The gold triangle represents A&T. That's us. That's how you read this chart. And so you see that men's basketball, we are a couple $100,000 behind from a salary perspective, our CAA peers, the midpoint. Women's basketball, we're actually ahead in terms of the median. Football, we're within $20,000 of the cumulative salaries for the entire football staff, A&T you see, and then you see the CAA mean. Softball, track, you can read that as you go down. Track, we obviously value track. We are the highest value in track, and we like track and expect to win national championships in track. And so certainly our funding model reflects that. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, you see scholarship equivalencies. Now, if you look at the middle line, you see a student athlete on athletics aid. You see a value for A&T, a value for the CAA, and these are mean values for an institution in the CAA, and you see the variance. And so what that means is if you take the bottom line, the equivalencies line, A&T spreads the equivalent or equivalencies of 168 scholarships across 239 student athletes. So some are on partials, some get half, some get 3/4, some get quarters. So we spread 168 scholarships over 239 student athletes. This data is 23-24. That's how you read that chart. You see that our equivalencies, we have 168. The CAA means 178. Notice, however, that the CAA top line sponsors an additional sport on average than we do. And so that would explain the difference in the equivalency value, or some of it at least. So we're right in the middle of the pack in terms of the number of scholarships that we offer. Next slide, please. Okay, this again, you read this slide the same way, and we're talking about now is operating expenses as opposed to salaries. And so this is recruiting, this is travel, this is equipment, this is guarantees that we pay to teams to come play us. This is cost for renting or leasing space for our teams, practice or competition, game expenses, security, ticket takers, ushers, et cetera, et cetera. Wrap all that together. It's everything besides salaries and the cost of a scholarship that is required to run a program. And again, you see that from a operational expense, baseball, we are the top of the class. We spend more on our baseball program operationally than any other school in the CAA. Same men's basketball, we're right in the middle there. Women's basketball, we're ahead. Football, we're again right in the middle with our football peers. Softball, we again invest heavily in softball. Track, you see that reflect the priority there. And then volleyball, you see that as well. Now, if you look at the bottom, what you're looking at there is the cost of one scholarship at a CAA institution. And again, you read it the same way. The blue triangle is the mean value for the CAA. The gold triangle represents A&T. The top line is the overall. So the one scholarship, the highest, the most expensive scholarship we have at A&T is about $29,000 for an out-of-state student. Room, board, tuition fees, and books. That's all we're talking about. It's not insurance. It's not other costs. So it's room, board, tuition fees, and books, about $29,000. Highest institution in the CAA is over $85,000 for that same scholarship. If you look at the public schools, you see that range there, $15,000 to $45,000. In the public schools, out-of-state scholarships, you see that range $25,000 to about $65,000. In every one of those categories, we have the most affordable educational expenses for a scholarship for any student. Last slide, or next slide. The last time I make you look at this. All right. And this is the funding model for all the scholarships together. You remember that 178 number that I showed you on the first slide. So if you take that 178 and multiply that across the number of the 178 is the number of scholarships they're going to offer and their base scholarship rate, room, board, tuition, fees, and books, you see where the total scholarship budget for the CAA institutions resides. You see us, we're between 2.5 and 3.5 million, depending on the mix between in-state and out-of-state students. The next school is a private school. They're $11 million in scholarships. Anything with a line in it is a public school. What you're seeing is the in-state rate and the out-of-state rate, the range. And then, of course, the triangles represent privates because it doesn't matter whether you're in-state or out-of-state. But you get some sense of how much money these schools are spending for scholarships. This slide explains the difference between why we are budgeted and spend about $18 to $19 million a year in athletics, and our peers on average spend about 30 to 31 million. Most of it is eaten up in the cost of scholarshiping their student athletes. Even though we're giving the same number of scholarships, ours are so much more efficient. Our educational costs are so much more efficient than our peers. We are able to scholarship the same number of students at a much lower rate. I hope that makes sense. Certainly, I'm happy to try to answer questions about that moving forward. If it doesn't, I'm trying to make sure that everyone's comfortable with the gap that we see because there's been some perception that we are underfunded among our CAA peers. And I want us to help to clear that up. All right, next slide, please. How am I doing on time? All right, this is a chart that describes the series of events beginning back in the 2013 series of lawsuits across the bottom, and then NCAA decisions across the top that have landed us in the place today where we're talking about the House settlement. The House is a lawsuit that really combines the House lawsuit, the Hubbard lawsuit, and the Carter lawsuit, and it's all about name, image, and likeness, additional money for academic support, and revenue sharing. Now, the judge in this case heard her second set of arguments a week ago Monday. She had questions which she sent back to the two sets of attorneys. Those answers were given back to her yesterday. We do expect the House settlement to be approved. When it is approved, and you see that there in the green bar there at the bottom, when it is approved, there will be certain changes that will impact all of Division One. Next slide, please. This litigation will allegedly provide antitrust protection for A&T for the next 10 years against claims from former student athletes, current former student athletes, about name, image, and likeness revenue, academic support enhancement revenue, and revenue sharing. We have an annual liability that's about $300,000, $3 million over the course of 10 years. We've talked about that before. The two pieces that will be different for us that we haven't discussed are the roster limits as opposed to scholarship limits. That will impact us. And then indirect NIL, which is we've had since 2021, but now direct pay NIL, meaning A&T athletics will be able to pay student athletes directly for their name, image, and likeness. In the past, it's had to go through a collective. It's going through a collective. That's the indirect pay for NIL. When this settlement is approved, institutions will be able to directly pay student athletes for their name, image, and likeness. We have to be prepared to be effective in that space. Next slide, please. Now, this is not a CAA question. This is not should be an EMEAC question. This is the new norm in Division I athletics. This is what it will require to be Division I, is some effort and willingness to provide NIL money to recruited student athletes. So you see here again, across the top, you have the Power Five. These are all budget numbers, and they're equalized so that we can see budget sources. They're obviously not equal in terms of discrete values. The Power Five, 145 million. Other FBS schools, which would be your App States, your East Carolinas, at 42 million. These are median budgets. FCS, which is us. Then you have A&T. I've pulled us out, teased us out separately. And then non-football Division I, that's your UNCGs or your UNC Wilmingtons. You see there the median budgets across those categories. Notice that we are heavily reliant on student fees for funding athletics. It represents about 60% of our budget. Student fees represent about 60% of the budget at A&T. You'll also notice, if you look across the grid at the bottom, we do a good job with ticket sales. Fantastic support from our alumni and fans in terms of ticket sales. We get great conference support. We are hoping to continue to grow what we've done in donor support in the NIL space. Next slide, please. The bottom line, the piece in the red there, we need to generate about $750,000 to $1 million a year in new money that we can provide to our student athletes in name, image, and likeness revenue. That's what we're projecting that we will need to be competitive in Division I. Again, this is not about conference affiliation. We are losing some students to CA, but we're also losing students to East Carolina. We're losing students to App State. We are losing students to Wake Forest. We lose students to Virginia. We're competing across all of Division I. And if we're going to remain relevant in this space, we have to be able to play in this game. And then the new Division I landscape is name, image, and likeness. And so we've had a conversation on Saturday with a number of donors who have supported athletics in the past and made this presentation to them. This is our goal. We'll be working toward this $1 million a year that we can use to recruit and especially to retain. And we have a lot of things that we offer that are not money. There's a lot about being an A&T student, being an Aggie, that differentiates us, that separates us from other HBCUs and certainly from other PWIs. We are a unicorn in many regards. We are the #1 HBCU in the world. We have opportunities on our campus to engage, to be educated, to compete academically that don't exist in other places. Additionally, we have fantastic athletic opportunities to compete at the highest level in FCS sports. And so we are relatively rare in that space. And we attract a number of students who want to come to A&T because we're A&T, but we do have to offer them something because they are being offered money beyond the scholarship, name, image, and likeness by other schools. And we have to be prepared to compete in this space. Did I have another slide? I don't remember if I did or not. Okay. Thank you. Again, lots of information very quickly. I appreciate your attention tonight. Certainly look forward to questions and interaction moving forward.
Great.
Todd, I
Thank you,
believe
Mr.
the floor is
Hilton,
yours.
and thank you to all of our presenters tonight. I feel a lot smarter at the end of this than I did at the beginning. So thank you all for the great information you provided. We're going to get to as many questions as we can this evening, and I'm going to start with one for Chancellor Martin that was pre-submitted before this evening. And Chancellor, we had a lot of questions from alumni who wanted to know about the current political environment and what it means for A&T. So we'll use this one kind of as the summary. How does the current federal political climate affect our pursuit of R1 status?
It doesn't at all. We're effectively performing at the R1 level right now, but we have tremendous opportunities. What we need to focus on, and let me say, as complicated and dynamic as this environment is, and we really don't know tomorrow what the future holds, but we're holding our own. We haven't had anything directly targeted at North Carolina A&T. We have certainly had some disruption in our research portfolio, but much less than many others. Let me say this, the rest of the world wants to work with North Carolina A&T. We simply have to build the systems and the outreach to allow our greatness to show beyond where we are. So if we look at lots of organizations, Fortune 500 companies and beyond, the ability to build really strategic connections with those, diversify our portfolio. For instance, right now, most of our researchers on campus, we have typically 3 sources of funding, like National Science Foundation or NIH or Department of Energy, Department of Education. Typically, we have about 3 per investigator. That number needs to be 5 or so to really be able to have the resilience to get through a lot of the disruptions that we expect in traditional funding sources. The fact that funding sources are becoming more non-traditional actually plays in our favor, because as we're growing, others have to stop, readjust, and start developing new resource fundings. We are in a position to grow from the beginning in these rays, which inevitably means more growth in the corporate sector and more non-traditional type research. As I mentioned earlier, we'll have more participation from the corporate and government sector on our campus so that we can really get at the cutting edge of where knowledge is being created. And it's certainly going to take us to have a lot more non-government and non-state support to support our research operations. So in terms of philanthropic support, that's never been more important, because we've got to have funding sources, revenue sources besides federal government and even state government's sources. And number 2, we've got to have the right sort of resources and connections to be able to sustain what we're doing. So it goes beyond just research and research funding. It involves endowment, but it also involves connections and networks. We're in a global marketplace. And so we have to think on a global scale. And many of the connections that we're building, whether it's corporate connections or connections with other academic institutions, allow us to attract global opportunities. So we are sitting where we need to sit. We just got to build better business practices and build the systems that allow us to leverage the opportunities at hand. It doesn't slow us down at all. And let me say, last thing, R1 is not a destination. It is a milepost that we're going to blow past. So let me put that out there.
Thank you, Chancellor. And let's stick with you for one more question. You know, Aggies love to be involved. You can tell it by the 500 or so alums who have joined this Zoom tonight. One of them asks, what role will alumni play in the James Martin administration?
Well, let me say this. First of all, when we talk about alumni, we're all learners. We're all lifetime learners. So I'd like for us to really be closely involved, but not really see ourselves as separate. Sometimes we see ourselves after we actually finish our undergraduate experience or our graduate experience and we leave and we become alumni. All of a sudden, that's a little bit different because we're labeled differently. I see us all as members of the Aggie family, and we're all at different points along our growth and lifetime learning journeys. So I think having close involvement, not just giving back to the institution, being a part of the institution and allowing us to all talk about all the great things that's happening. It's not just incumbent upon us here. We need all 72,000 of us in this family out there developing resources, helping to recruit students, helping to leverage research opportunities, helping for job placement, helping develop resources through giving, but also through networking, and helping to connect us all with those new opportunities that we hadn't thought of. And just think about, and to talk about what's happening. That's part of why we took so much time to give you detailed information so you can go out and talk about what's happening. So it's not just us here on the traditional landscape of North Carolina A&T between Market Street and the edge of campus. We need to figure out what we can all do to get the word out and leverage that. And we want to do that on an international scale. That involves the use of technology, for instance, just like we're using now to be able to communicate in a very efficient way. And we want to continue to do that in an exponential way. So it is absolutely critical for us to align 72,000 of us, not just a few 14,311 of us here on campus.
Thank you, Chancellor. Let's move back to our provost, Dr. Tanya Smith-Jackson, for the next question in academic affairs. Dr. Smith-Jackson, this alumni asks, we're proud to be the largest HBCU. However, our graduation rate is not where we want it to be. How does the university plan to increase the graduation rate?
Great question. Thank you for that question. That's an important outcome for us. The graduation rate is one of the performance metrics for us, but we're not even a performance metric for the UNC system. We are certainly committed to this social contract that when our students do come to this university, our high achieving students, we have a social contract with them for them to get a degree. Now, what I will say, though, is that we have been able to examine, particularly in the last 3 years, to more carefully examine our metrics to determine what it is about the system that may not be facilitating what I hope, which is 100% graduation rate, 100% four-year graduation rate, actually. So one of those things that we have done is, you may recall that in 2023, we established the first centralized office for student support services across the entire campus for undergraduate students and graduate students. That office is called the University Student Success Office. It is run by our Associate Vice Provost, Dr. Dwayne Tutt, and I can provide you with that information. But the bottom line here is, in centralizing those services, we've also centralized our knowledge base about what leads to and facilitates success for our students. So I want to put that out there. We're much more data informed, and that has led to establishing certain initiatives across campus. As an example, we have action plans for DWFs, what we call the DWF rate. Our goal, of course, and it has been happening, is semester by semester, we've decreased the number of Ds, Ws, and Fs that are earned by our students. And by so doing, the way that we have done that is by improving teaching and pedagogy, intervening in DWF courses like chemistry, for example. We have worked with the deans and the chairs to change the approach to teaching. And in addition to that, we've provided students across campus, regardless of the subject area, we provided them with 24-hour services. For example, we use Upswing 24/7 in the middle of the night. Early on a holiday morning, our students have access to a real human being virtually that they can call up and have a session to get any tutoring in any subject free of charge. We pay for that particular service. So there are internal aspects of this that we have done in the university to restructure so that we build a more successful system to support graduation. But secondly, we're looking at aspects of financial literacy, helping our students gain more scholarships, helping our students develop more successful tactics around work-life balance, because our students are experiencing work-life balance challenges that are certainly affecting their academic performance. So we have more counselors in place, we have more coaches. We have also, by the way, changed our advising model. So we have hired about 32 academic professional advisors who are also there to help students, not just academically, but helping them with well-being, coaching them through the situations of life that might interact in some way negatively with their academic performance. But I can assure you, we continue to refine, like I said, this intellectual and social architecture at North Carolina A&T, and we are definitely seeing the results. The rates are increasing year by year.
Thank you, Provost. Great answer. One of our alumni asked earlier where we're recognizing alumni that we used to recognize in the annual honor roll that was printed and sent out each year. Like a great many other things in life, it's moved into the digital space. I'm dropping in the chat now the URL for the alumni or for the donor honor roll. You can see donors at all levels there anytime you would like. Let's move now on to one of our questioners on the Zoom tonight. This is Simone Hawks Hamilton, and I'm asking her to unmute there as I'm announcing her name. Simone, what's your question?
Hi, first of all, thank you for choosing or letting me ask a question. I kind of have two questions. One of these is for AD Hilton. It was I was in the AAF meeting, but I asked my question kind of towards the end. Women's sports are up and coming. Our women's sports teams at A&T, cheerleading, basketball, they get better every single year. I kind of want to know where the focus is for those teams, because every time we hear about donations and everything else, it's always football, football, football. When are they going to become, I guess, a focal point as well? And actually, that was my only question. I'm sorry.
No, that's a great question. Excuse me. When you say deletion, what do you mean, Mrs. Hamilton?
No. I'm saying the focal point, like where more, because all we hear about all the time is football, and a lot of, I think the attitude of a lot of alumni needs to shift too, because it's always football, 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 football. We are more than football.
So let me, I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I will let you in on a secret that should stay between you and me. Women's basketball is the best funded program that we have here at A&T. Per capita, across the board, it is women's basketball. And that's just the way it's supposed to be. We have 5 sports that we focus on that we think about in terms of winning national championships: women's bowling, men's and women's track, women's basketball, men's basketball, and football. We do not break our sports down by their ability to create revenue or their ability to generate large crowds. We fund them equitably. If you look at our EADA reports across the past 15 years, our female athletes have always received more financial aid than our male student athletes. That continues today. And as we talk about the NIL, we will have a similar split in terms of NIL money that goes to our men's sports and NIL money that goes to our women's sports. I met with our women's basketball coach this afternoon before coming to this meeting, and we had the conversation about what will our NIL money look like. We expect to be funding our women's basketball program from an NIL perspective on a level that is comparable to some of the highest ranking conferences in the country. And I don't want to say more than that at this point. We definitely focus our resources on our women's sports, and you can see in the results that shows up in our bowling, in our track, in our basketball, in our cheerleading.
Absolutely. And I would point out for those of you who don't remember, it wasn't that long ago that the women's basketball team became the first Aggie program to host a postseason tournament game here at A&T. And we were so proud to see them host two of those in the NIT tournament year before last. Let's move back to one of the questions submitted in advance. I saw this question several times.
Yes, Todd, they're correcting you. They're saying we hosted 3, and they're right.
3.
Yeah.
It's good to be fact checked. One of our alumni writes, I have 2 Aggies, one in the band, and the other is an RA. Will these Aggies have an opportunity to attend the career fair as well? They work hard for the university and need that time to invest in their future. We'll turn back to Dr. Nina Davis for this answer, but just very briefly, our student athletes, our band members, and sometimes RAs have difficulty accessing the career fairs. So I know that at least in athletics, we've created a situation where all student athletes can participate in the career fair. Dr. Davis, do you have more information on the band members and residence assistants?
Yes, thank you for that question. We are working with all of our faculty and staff members to ensure that our students have ample enough time to attend the career fair. We've extended our hours. For the spring, we even opened up the career fair an hour early to accommodate various groups and students that may get sensory overload. So we wanted to ensure that our students have the time that they need to meet with our employers. We know that the day after the career fair is very important because the employers come back and they are hiring on our campus. So students are able to participate in next day interviews. So we will continue to work with athletics, RA, all of our student orgs and clubs on campus and work with their advisors and our faculty members to ensure that they have time to attend the career fair. And I really think providing that transportation and having it in a larger venue will be advantageous.
And Dr. Davis, while we have you, another question was, how specifically can volunteers who want to take part in the career fairs get involved?
Yes, we love our Aggie volunteers, and we do want to see you all volunteer and get involved. Please email me. My information was in the chat, but I will put it back in there again. You can also call the Office of Career Services, and we will also provide information to Crystal Boyce to send out to our alumni.
Great. Thanks very much, Dr. Davis. I want to move on to another question. Sorry?
Thank you.
I want to move on to another question from a young alum who writes, as a recent graduate, I want to better understand how the university plans to address historically negative aspects of the student experience. I applaud the investment in new housing, like the recently announced Bluford Hall Residence Hall. It's a meaningful step forward, but facilities like Cooper Hall, which has long suffered from ongoing issues, and Barbie, which has documented problems as well, can create added stress for students. Well, whoever posed the question, I would love for you to know that as Bluford Hall is completed, we're going to be able to move some of those older halls offline for long overdue repairs and to get those repairs going so that that stock can be restored to a meaningful level. Is there anyone else who wants to join in on that from the administration?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Chris Catching, Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs. To that point around the student experience, one of the things that, and I've been here since February 3rd, although the pace of A&T has moved a lot faster. But one of the things that I have been doing with my team and with others is listening and learning from students and colleagues about the overall student experience. We know that that has a profound impact on their academic success and also their feelings once they graduate from the institution. So I've met with and talked to about 40 folks over the last 2 months or so, and gone to a number of events, and really have been absorbing our campus and learning as much as I can, as quickly as I can, to work with my colleagues to address a number of the concerns, and housing being the number one scarcest commodity, but also is a really important one. You can't have students succeed here without having basic needs being at a level of quality that it needs to be. So know that we're working on it, and looking forward to making some improvements over the near and distant future.
Thank you. Great to hear from you, Vice Chancellor Catching. I'll field another one here that's a quick.
Let me finish up on that when we talk about housing, because the quality of experience is absolutely critical. It comes down to funding and revenue. And so if we look at historical budgets for North Carolina A&T, the way it goes is that if you are talking about building new houses, that's one of the most difficult challenges that universities here, state-supported universities, have. If we're talking about classroom facilities, we get state support for those, not fully funded, but the vast majority of that funding comes from state revenue sources. When we're talking about housing, we have to fund that completely. And there are only one or two ways we can do that. We can do that with fees. We can do it with academic fees. We can do it with tuition, or we can also do it with fundraising, philanthropic support, endowments, and or external sources like partnerships, sponsorships, those kinds of things. So that's what makes that more challenging, but you can bet that we are focused on significant opportunities to develop huge new fundraising opportunities for us. We haven't been raising fees and tuition, and historically we haven't done that either, but it also creates a more urgent need now because it limits the flexibility in terms of our ability to address tremendous deferred maintenance and infrastructure needs. So it's a challenge. Fundraising's got to be part of it, but it's also, we got to think about how to diversify our revenue streams to be able to do that. One of the biggest challenges we have.
As Chancellor knows, this is a constant balancing act. We have to keep foremost in our mind that we are the most affordable doctoral research university in America, and be sensitive to any additional financial burdens that we place on our students, even for good causes. A quick question here. What is the number of students enrolled at North Carolina A&T? And what college has the highest number of students enrolled? Our enrollment this academic year is 14,311 students, and our largest college is the John and Kathy Hairston College of Health and Human Sciences. Let's go back to enrollment management for the next one, to Joseph Montgomery. Joseph, the questioner asked, does the university have a program in place to help students graduate debt-free?
So the university is working hard to make certain that we can help students meet their direct costs, but there's no one particular program that is designed for students to be debt-free. And so the best that we can do is to best serve our students who need it the most.
Thank you, Joseph. Another short question. One of the questioners asked, when is the next assessment for R1? We believe that will happen in 2028. That's roughly when we expect the Carnegie classifications to reopen that assessment again. And as Chancellor Martin has said several times now, we fully expect that we're going to be right there in the running and ready to get that R1 designation. Dr. Davis, another one for you here, and I think this will also be fast. Is there a digital career resource where employers can add job opportunities to put in front of students?
Yes, there is. We have a platform called Handshake. Alumni can also log into that platform and search for jobs as well. But the Handshake platform is an online job platform where employers can post jobs, internships, register for the career fair, as well as register for lobby days in the Student Center or the Williams Dining Hall, and schedule interviews and information sessions. So it's sort of a one-stop shop.
As often the case with career services, we're in really good shape in Dr. Davis's hands. Thank you again, Dr. Davis, for that. Let's move back to Chancellor Martin. Chancellor, we're going to give you one final question here to finish up our Q&A period. And I think it's an insightful one. One of our alumni says, one of the biggest complaints I've seen from schools that are already at R1 status is that professors only care for their research and students don't get proper focus while in their classes. How can we make sure this doesn't happen at A&T, where the intimate relationship between students and faculty that's been our pride for years falls by the wayside?
I think because of what you just said, North Carolina A&T is a different university. We never get too far away from our purpose. Let's be very specific when we're talking about research. Research will never be a commodity here at North Carolina A&T. I think some of these schools out there have a very large research engines. They have more, I guess you would say, separation between the teaching missions and the research missions because of the way historically they have been developed. We're at a great place. We are a moderate-sized university. We're not too large that we can't move and still have that connectivity, but we're large enough to really have significant impact. And that doesn't mean having infrastructure all over the city and having to be 3 or 4 miles across. It means that we are living in a world where technology, the ability to really create great impact because of high-tech growth will be a part of what we're going to do. We're going to also focus on, many of you have heard me talk about the next move beyond where we are now in the knowledge economy, the information economy will be the relationship economy. We've got artificial intelligence. In 4 or 5 years from now, artificial intelligence will be doing so much for us, from manufacturing to communication to connections. We're going to have to build relationships and innovate. That's human, right? We do human really, really well. So a big cornerstone of our research in the first place will be human-centric connections and how that really is informing the next economy in the world. And so research here means simply creating new knowledge. In fact, the richest, most relevant part of our whole operating system as a university is the research domain, because artificial intelligence will start to replace some of our content and curriculum in the traditional ways. Artificial intelligence can never replace research. Research is simply the creation of new knowledge. All research is not created equal. Some research entities at some universities are machines that operate largely outside of the university. And you see them reported, you see lots of impacts reported in numbers. What we're doing in terms of research here is simply creating more knowledge right at the cutting edge of where we develop solutions for a world that needs technical solutions that bring people together. That's really what research is. Teaching is simply inspiring learning, and you can do that better by creating new knowledge. And in fact, I would like every single one of our students, if I had a magic wand, to have a research experience, because it is the most important part of creating innovation and learning that lasts a lifetime, to be able to create knowledge that didn't exist. That's what research is. That is not going away in terms of AI. It is going to be more and more and more important. It's just what we call it is something that it seems like it's different because of the traditional definition of research, like it's done in the more mature research universities. It will only enhance our ability to come together, enhance our relevancy, enhance our impact, enhance our teaching, enhance our lifelong ability to connect and make impact of the world. And so that has to be part of our calling card. It's a tremendous time to be here at our universities with the opportunities ahead of us. We got to get our technology straight. We got to get our business practices straight. We got to get our partnerships and connections straight. And we got to have all 72,000 of us really connected with a shared vision. And so that's how I see it. So it's an exciting time to be here. And the rest of the world wants to be here too. We can see what Nina Davis just presented, going out to the Coliseum. That's going to continue to increase because the rest of the world is saying, we want what you're developing. We need people that can solve problems, but we also need people with grit, resilience, confidence, the ability to connect, the ability to innovate, the ability to lead. That's what we do beyond just the technical knowledge and domain expertise, right? What we have is increasing in stock value. We are a rare commodity. We're doubling down on all of that. So yes, research has to be part of it, but also connectivity and alignment and full investment from all of us has to be a part of it too. So great day to be an Aggie.
What a great and reassuring takeaway to summarize this Zoom tonight. At A&T, we do human right. We do human well. I think that's certainly how our alumni think of the university. I want to recognize all of the posters in the comments who are remarking on the great presentations tonight and all of the information. Thanks to all of you who asked the great probing questions to get that information out, and to all of our panelists tonight who weighed in with really wonderful presentations, shared a lot of great information. We thank you for your time this evening, and let me send the program back to Crystal Boyce to close us out. Crystal?
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Chancellor, and all of our amazing administrators at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. We have the most amazing alumni. You are the greatest alumni on earth, and your engagement tonight continues to raise the bar for the work that we do now, so that the work we do now is the best, but the work that we do next and beyond is even better. Thank you for your commitment, your time, and your service to our illustrious institution. Remember, we are always achieving great goals in everything and producing renowned individuals dedicated to excellence. That's what Aggie Pride means. That's what we're committed to and connected to. Stay tuned. You will get some links as a follow-up, some of the links that were shared today, the amazing presentations, the amazing dialogues and questions. Be on the lookout for that. If you are not already signed up for our Alumni Times e-newsletter, we will put something in the chat to ensure that you stay informed and connected. Be on the lookout for a survey that will have a question from Chancellor Martin that he wants all alumni to think about and engage in as we continue to build our strategic strategy for North Carolina A&T. Thank you all. Have an amazing night. See you soon in Aggie land. Be safe and Aggie Pride.
Aggie Pride.